Welcome to Overthinking in Your Underwear. This is Lindsay, and this week I'm overthinking dating. So this is fun. This is the first time I've done this with video. I've been wanting to add video for a while. My podcasts are up on any of your platforms, Spotify, YouTube, Substack, kind of all of that stuff, but it's audio only. And so now I'm adding video because I heard that's like what the kids like, right? So today we're overthinking dating, and I'm really excited about it. I have my friend Jill Simpson joining me in a minute, along with my other friend Trisha. Jill is a certified relationship therapist. So a few weeks ago, we did a chat with her called Secrets of a Relationship Expert, and it was really popular. On that, we kind of talked more about marriage and relationships. And now we're going to talk about the run up, right? Dating, getting into all that dating advice. So in my book, Overthinking in Your Underwear, I should have a copy that I'm flashing right now, but I just don't have one near me. But in my book, Overthinking in Your Underwear, the premise is kind of like overthinking our way to self-discovery. It's broken into four sections. The first section is like thinking through self-worth, self-love, meditation. And then the third section is thinking through the relationship business. And so since I'm not married, it's a lot about dating. And so what I'm going to talk to Jill and Trisha about in a little bit is the part in my book where we're going to go through every chapter, overthinking your type, overthinking the ending, overthinking sex, that kind of stuff. And I'm going to bounce it off Jill for a more profesh opinion, and Trish too. Trish is 45 like me. I'm 45, but she only got married about 2 months ago. So she's been doing the dating just like me. Like I say, when you've been single since the 70s, you know a thing or two about dating. So this is going to be a fun chat that we'll get into in a minute. But now I'm just going to, chat about dating here for a minute. Dating for me is kind of like going to the gym. Like if I get in a really good practice with it, I'm doing the apps, I'm going out, I'm meeting people, I'll make coffee dates, I'll meet you after work, I'll go have a drink. We'll get into drinking and dating in a minute or in a bit, but it's like a routine. It's like a muscle, and you have to practice it, right? And right now I am out of shape. I am sitting on the couch. I'm with my dog. It started about COVID. My last date, and I was saying this for a long time. I'm like, my last date was right before COVID, and people would go, "Oh yeah, I get that." And now it's like, ew. Are you serious? But I'm sorry, I am serious. My last date was literally like a few days before lockdown. I went on a first date with this guy. And then that was like the real test of it. It was like, is he going to be my lockdown honey, or was it not worth it? And for me, it was not worth it. He was kind of like, are we going to continue this? Like, keep talking, maybe like meet up. And I was like, I'm good. Just my bubble being me and my dog and my family. Like, that's okay. So that first date went nowhere. And then I haven't been on another one since then. I just haven't been willing to. I think we just like get into that lockdown routine. Or for me, I just got into that routine of being alone. And I realized how much I like to be alone, how much I like the control of my feelings being my own. Like, there's so much power in I can control my mood. I can control my well-being. I can control how I feel today. And when you let that vulnerability in, when you let someone else in, and I know it's the whole point of life. I know it's the whole deal. But when you let someone else in, suddenly they come home from work and they've had a crappy day, and what they unload on you, hopefully not, or they're in a mood and you're trying to figure it out and you're trying to make them feel better. And it's just frankly something I don't feel like dealing with right now. So I'm not dating. I just don't feel like dealing with it. I don't feel like dealing with another person. And maybe that's selfish, and it's probably locking myself away. And it's definitely not allowing myself to be vulnerable and open up to all of the wonderful things that come with accepting someone else's, mood, and accepting someone else's, and I've been in good relationships. I know there's another wonderful side of it, but I guess I'm just not really, I'm not willing to do it right now. I'm out of shape, guys. I am out of shape. So I won't ramble on here. I'll ramble on with the girls. I'll grab Trish and Jill. I'm actually going to get in the car and drive there to meet them. So you'll see me looking like this, but in another location. We'll have that dating chat with you in a second.
Yeah.
So do you guys have anything before we want to jump in? Do you want to tell about your PowerPoint, Jill?
Mm-hmm. I was telling her when I was reading your book, and it had me thinking about, some of my own dating experiences. And in my 20s, there was a stint there where I had all these bad ones. And out of convenience and also really being efficient with telling my friends these stories, I took time on the lunch break at work to make PowerPoints, and I would send them updates every Monday.
Did it have advice or just
no? It was more just like horrible bullet points about why the answer is no, right? Yeah. With a picture normally. Oh, like I that picture, I've got to find this because it's so funny. And I just thought it was hilarious. Like on there was a guy. I kind of did like a thing where I would have my friends on backup, which people do this, right? Hey, if I text you or if I write with a letter, like, or with an exclamation point, like that means call me and say you need to talk to me urgently or there's something going on, right? Which I know is like,
you need me to come pick you
up. So they see through that, right? But at that point, there was no way out. So this guy and I went out, and he started talking about how he was in a gang when he was growing up. Immediately, no. So I did not like that feeling, and he kind of went on and on and on about it. And he had
I would have been turned on because I like the bad boy.
Exactly. I don't know. It just made me feel uncomfortable, and so I immediately texted my friend, exclamation point, and she called me, and I left. So I mean, that was probably one of the more not so great.
I've never heard someone actually use that. I feel like you see it on
movies. The only time I did, but I did.
I just had sat there back when I was dating. In the intro, I say that I haven't dated forever. I always just would sit there like really uncomfortable or drink more, and then like just be like, I'm going to drink my way through this, wake up tomorrow with a horrible hangover, but just I got to get through this, And I think the thing is like you can have one drink and say, I'm leaving because this isn't great, or not that this isn't great, but this was nice to meet you. And nice, but I always felt so bad doing that. Like you feel bad being there for 45 minutes and being like,
no, I still felt bad doing what I did. It was not that fun because I knew he knew, right? Yeah. But it was an escape plan, and I took it. Yeah, it's the only time I did.
But I also think 20s and 30s, you're not going to do that.
No,
not until you're 40 or older. You can be like, I'm sorry.
Let's be honest here.
Let's be honest. Yeah. Okay, so we can start looking at the book now. I know you guys all have your books out right now too, right? Wouldn't that be fun? Wouldn't that be fun? So this is section 3, overthinking relationship business, and it starts with overthinking your type, tall, dark, and unavailable. That was my type for a long time. I mean, it might still be if I were dating, but
I'm a sucker for the dark hair too.
Yeah. But I started off talking about how my dad, this is kind of like contradicting because my dad is this really great guy. And everyone always kind of says like, how can you have such a great dad and then like such a shitty dating history or like such a bad radar when it comes to men? Sorry, any guy that I dated that is listening to this. But how can you do that? Like, why aren't you going for the guy that's exactly like your dad? Because my dad dotes on my mom and he's so wonderful. Like, why aren't you typecasting that? Like, why aren't you casting that out to the universe of that's what you want? And my kind of theory is like, when we go for someone, it doesn't necessarily have to be your dad. Like whether it's a father, mother, sibling, or first love, when you look for a partner, you pursue traits of a familiar figure. Mm-hmm. These traits can be terrific or not so noteworthy, but they send us on a search, sometimes dating the same type as we attempt to find a person who fits the part. So time and again, you choose a partner with all the personality and no full-time job. Why? Because it reminds you of a type you cast long ago. Your father, your mother, the one who broke your heart. It's cozy, comfortable, and mostly it feels like home. So that's just not my dad. That's not who I've been typecasting. But I think we do look for something familiar to our past, and then we keep replaying it.
For sure.
Yeah.
Because it feels comforting in a weird way, even if it's turbulent.
Yes. Yeah.
Sure.
Does that feel like anything? I feel I know you. I know you, girl.
Yeah.
Not with your current husband, obviously.
Right.
I shouldn't describe him as current husband. Sorry,
But
Brent.
even like with
your forever husband.
Brent, like us, like I've always typecast, like I am going to marry somebody that has been my friend at some point, or knows my family, knows my life, knows whatever. And
has history with.
Yeah. In the beginning with Brett and I, it was like, that made it so much easier. You know what I mean? Like I was, I guess, typecasting then, but
yeah,
no, all of my long-term serious relationships I've had
had
before my husband were definitely
Uh-huh.
home mirroring a.
It was sort of like I'm not gonna, I'll let you explain it, but I feel like you were dating a general demographic of what we grew up with, of like a strong masculine alpha male. And that's what was supposed to be attractive. That was supposed to be like what took care of you and what a woman was supposed to be attracted to, I think. Just in our community, I would say what you were supposed to be attracted to. And you kind of continued to date that kind of guy. Maybe that was me too.
Yeah.
I mean, they weren't carbon copies of each other, our types, but maybe a little bit.
Yeah. But it was definitely just the saying of like, feels like home. That is what I would say.
It is subconscious. Yeah. Like it's not real, typically it's not a conscious thing that you're doing. It's just a subconscious thing.
I do think, because I'm kind of like, well, I don't really know where I'm reading this and I wrote this and I still don't really know where my type came from. But I do think Gen X, like I still think we grew up with like that alpha male is what you're supposed to be attracted to. And like now, you know, the Gen Z guy or a millennial guy or whatever, they're like sensitive and they're creative and all the things that I am and that I love. But we weren't taught, or we didn't see in our culture and our movies and our books and everything that that's what you're supposed to be, or that you can be attracted to, that is the attractive. And so I think that's probably what we were typecasting.
Yeah, for sure.
And it doesn't always end well. It can.
Yeah. But I also think if I look back on that in my own life, is I was really into movies when I was young. And so I would watch the same ones over and over and over. And Top Gun was one of them. Dirty Dancing was one of them. And so I wanted a guy just like Maverick, and I wanted a guy just like Johnny Castle, right?
Yeah.
And even Zach Morris, which Saved by the Bells, right? But that was a bit later. But like that was the kind of energy I wanted in a guy, right?
Yeah.
Like, and Johnny Castle more specifically because he was a dancer, and I love that. But yeah, he was like
he was the bad boy.
Right. He was a mix of like masculine but sensitive, and it was just such a cool.
He was dangerous.
Duo.
He was a little dangerous.
But like once he found his love, he was locked in. Right? Like he was like that at first with the other women at the resort, right? And then he locked into baby. So that to me was a part of what I was like, ooh, he's kind of right? Because I joke with Mike, I was like, you're kind of a mix of all of those. Like, because I really, that was my first like, ooh, I kind of like that. Like flutters,
Me too. Patrick Swayze.
Oh.
Dirty Dancing. Oh. Me too.
How can
That's
you not?
funny. No. Yeah. Oh yeah. That gave me all the feels. That Dirty Dancing did.
Yes.
Really.
Yeah.
Yeah. Don't put baby in
the corner. Immediately when you guys said that about movies, I thought we all wanted Patrick Swayze.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And we all wanted to be Madonna.
Yeah. I mean, some more than others.
But Madonna, that's a whole other conversation about, I don't know.
Yeah. Oh, true.
About what's going on with Madonna. Okay. So talk about this. So I talk about that. Don't worry, I'll cut all this out. Oh, so I talk about this. This is kind of like a thing that I created and have no right to be creating things. But I say our hot starters are the top 3 things that pull you in and blind you to the rest of your potential partner's true self. So it doesn't have to be 3, but I was sitting there one day and talk about like, you really have a problem overthinking. I had gone out with a guy and I was like, I really didn't know why I liked him. I was like, I don't even know why I like this guy, or like why I'm staring at my phone hoping he calls me back. And I was like, he's confident. He was kind of an alpha guy. He was unavailable, I think. And so I was kind of like going through and matching like all the guys that I had been with. And I was like, those are my hot starters. If a guy is those things, like, cut it off, I'm done. Like, I'm going to be like really interested. I'm going to be locked in. If I sit down and I see a guy is like confident, kind of an alpha guy, and there's something like a little bit unavailable about him, those are my hot starters. That's what I'm into, right? Not that I can't go out with a guy who's creative and cool and smart or whatever those things are, which I should be. But I kind of created this thing that like we all have these things that are just going to lock us in. And that's kind of what builds upon and creates our type.
Yeah.
Do you guys think you have those?
Yeah, but I also think that is more short term for me.
Yeah.
Like short term.
Hopefully. You know what I mean?
Like, yes, that might be the allure at first, or that might be what makes me want to do, like, get to know them more. But like, at some point you get to is this a long-term match? Is this someone that would be with me when I'm sick? Is this someone that would be a great dad? Is this the right? Eventually my brain goes there. And if they're not,
because you're healthy, you sound like a healthier person than me, Jill. You're way healthier than I am.
Like a true partner.
You made way healthier. Just
no, I guess what I'm saying is a true partner.
Yes,
that's what I mean. And like, if they're unavailable or not, or they are, I'm not ready. Are you? Like those sort of guys? Okay, not the right time, and maybe down the line, but not where I'm at right now.
Right. So these things like get us in the door, and then that's kind of my point. Is like those things like will get us in the door, and maybe keep us for too long, and then we really need to like figure out what are the traits that we
back to basics.
What are the traits that we want for a projected partner? Like, what's your projected partner? He should be a good dad. He should be all these things.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Well, and I mean, I'm a dark hair person too. Right? Yeah. So, like that was always my thing too. And like kind of broad and the masculine thing. I don't know. I go back to that typically.
Right.
In the end, they're my hot starters, I guess.
They're your hot starters. Yes. So then this is something else I like too. It's also kind of like my theory of Tom Cruise theory.
I haven't heard this.
Really? Okay. So complete yourself first and find a partner who's the whole damn deal. So Tom Cruise, we all know that scene, and we all know the scene in, what is the movie? No, sorry. We all know the scene in Jerry Maguire when Tom storms into the room where Renee Zellweger's sister is having book club. And he's like, if this is where it has to happen, then this is where it has to happen. And then he goes and he has this huge speech to Renee Zellweger that ends with, you complete me. Mm-hmm. And then for years, everyone has said, you complete me. Everyone's looked for someone that says, you complete me. But the truth is, you have to complete yourself first, or you're never going to be happy. Mm-hmm. Like, you can get into a relationship and then you're going to be unhappy, and you're going to look for the closest thing, which is going to be your partner. And you're going to say, he's making me unhappy. She's making me unhappy. But the truth is, you have to complete yourself first, or you're never going to be happy in a relationship.
For sure.
Tom Cruise lied to us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, the notion of I want you in my life, I don't need you in my life, is like similar to that. Like, I'm complete and I am whole and I am content and I am confident, but I want you to share this with me, instead of it being like I have to attach to you to complete that circle. And if I don't have that, then it's that codependent thing. Yeah. But it's still kind of romantic.
No, you can look at it in a romantic way too. Yes. You can look at it in a way of like, Tom Cruise had everything minus this small thing, or not small thing, this huge part, which was Renee Zellweger.
Yeah. Was he unavailable? It's been years since I've seen that. Wasn't he kind of unavailable?
Oh, yeah. He was like a horrible playboy. Okay. But it's a great movie. I love that movie.
It's been so long. So good.
Yeah.
It's a classic of our generation.
Yeah. Do you guys want a Sour Patch Kid?
I was wondering when we were going to get one.
You haven't really given me much that I... No. I'm just kidding. You gave me a great thing earlier. What colors do you like? No, you don't want green, Joe.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I don't mind green at all. The only ones I'm not a big fan of are the yellow.
Okay.
Sour Patch Kids.
I like the red.
All day, every day.
Okay.
Oh, good.
Oh, yeah. It's so intense.
It's so intense.
In all the right ways.
This is where I go back to just like a lesser educated society. And it was like, you were born, go to school, go to college, meet somebody, get married. And I think for so long we thought, because we haven't met somebody, we're not complete. We're not full, right?
Yeah.
Only over time has that evolved more, that it's like, no, it's okay to like be happy with yourself first, you know?
And your shampoo and your 10-pound shampoo.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying, I always go back to like my grandparents. Like my grandmother got married when she was like 18 years old. No one's complete.
Right.
18.
Right.
But she stayed married for umpteen years until my grandfather passed. I mean, technically,
she may have gotten lucky that. Right?
I'm just saying, like, I think too, it's all just your culture, society.
And like the expectations that they had, I think, were much different than the expectations that we have.
Yeah.
If you're on top, like generational stuff.
We just evolve.
Right.
I don't know if I said this when we talked our marriage one, but like my parents have all these friends from college. And I always think it's so funny that their wedding anniversary is like May 31st. And then their best friend's wedding anniversary is like May 20th, June 1st, June 2nd, June 3rd, because they all got married right out of college. Like it was just what you did, and you were not going to be single for 1 second. They all married their college sweethearts, and they all stayed with them. There wasn't even one divorce in the group, which is very rare. I mean,
that is.
50%, right? And and they all just say, that's just what you did, and we got lucky. We found these great partners, and they all seem to have these great marriages, but it was just what you did at the time, and things have changed some.
Well, that also goes back to what we talked about in our last podcast. It was about like timing. Like you kind of panic and you're like, oh, well, everybody else is doing it. So I'll make this one work and this one's fine. And, you kind of lie to yourself sometimes that like this one will work. And it's not like that anymore. I think there's a broad range of when people get married. And we also realize it's not the only way to happiness. Like there are many other things you can do with your life besides get married and have kids and still be happy. Right. And that's not how I think it's been, right?
I mean, you could never have been like back in that group of my parents and their friends say, actually, I'm going to break up with Steve and I'm going to go to Europe for a while and see who else I meet and then come back. And then whatever. Your girlfriends would have been like, are you crazy? Wait a minute. You're going to marry your college boyfriend. That's what we're all doing. I mean, it's so funny to think about.
So true.
So the next chapter is overthinking dating. At the beginning, I talk about how dating with no self-worth, low self-worth, the beginning of the book is all about building your self-worth, is just a no-go. Like you have to build up your self-worth before you can really go out and successfully date. That's kind of what that is. And then this is one of my favorite quotes. I post it all the time. There's nothing more terrifying than a person who needs no validation. So once you do kind of figure out that self-worth, like the game changes. And I say like, once I kind of started doing that, I would like walk into a date when I had no expectation of giving and shit if they called me back because I was good. I really just wanted to meet them, see how they were, like see if I liked them as much as seeing if they liked me. Because before I was dating with the expectation of seeing if they liked me. Am I okay? And I say like, I'd been my ride or die my hair for 30 years. And yet here I was handing over all my power to a guy in one swipe, you know? And when you change that paradigm, like I really noticed the energy change. Like guys were literally leaning in like, but wait, do you like me?
Tell me more.
Do you like me? And I was kind of like, I don't know. And it's such a shift. Like you can't sit down with that like needy energy of like, oh my God, do you like me? Do you approve of me? Oh my gosh. Like you have to show up like I'm complete, Tom Cruise. I am complete. I am good. I don't give a shit where this relationship goes. I'm sorry. But like, like I'm good. I'm going to go home. I'm going to be happy. Everything's fine. I just want to see if we have the same interest and if our Netflix queue aligns, like if I want to hang out with you and watch Netflix, like, let's see.
Netflix and chill.
That's right.
Later, maybe. I was going to say that reminds me of the whole be more focused on being interested versus interesting. So like, don't try to put on a show or be like this person that you're not, right? Like ask them the questions. You're interviewing them too, in a sense, right? Like be interested in them and their life and what's going on, and so that you can get a real idea of who they are. And then instead of being like, oh gosh, do they like me? And did I order the right thing? And do I look okay? And do I have food in my teeth? Like just drop that, which is the confidence piece. Which I think no matter what is sexy.
Confidence
is sexy.
That's what we've been talking about. We're always attracted to confidence.
Yeah.
Jill, good job. Here you go.
Because I don't date anymore, but even before when I was dating, like with interviewing and graduating college and getting your first job, and it was like so much of you would be taught when you go into an interview, like, don't focus on yourself, right? Focus on them. And it's like people pick up on that energy. When I'm interviewing people now, I always say, like, I want you to interview me just as much as I'm interviewing you. You know,
like, is this place right for you? Yeah.
Exactly. But I think, back when we were dating the wrong people and we got to that point of being complete ourselves and brought that different energy, the ones that were the unhealthy relationships, those guys scurried away real quick because they knew they couldn't control or manipulate or whatever. So,
100% agree.
Yeah. Sorry, I was thinking of something and then I forgot it.
I don't get Sour Patch Kid.
Sorry, no, Trish, that was good.
Blue one.
Trish, that was.
Pick one specifically blue.
Wait, time. Trish, that was good. You want blue every time? Okay.
But right, that's so true. Sorry, I cut this piece.
No, that is so true.
But that's when, like, I think you see that shift in the paradigm of when you have healthy relationships and unhealthy.
But on that note, I think that's also something to look for is, do they seem to care about me
you
too? Like, it's not just about them. And right. And I think, I mean, Mike and I
are they asking you questions?
Like Mike and I joke all the time about like how many people are horrible at the art of conversation. Like, they just don't know the back and forth and the being inquisitive and curious and actually caring. I mean, people don't typically do that in the norm. But I think if you are looking at someone that you potentially want to be with, that should be something you look for.
Yeah.
Is, do they also seem interested in you in your life and getting to know you? Who you are, right?
Yeah. The next one was about how you should treat dating like a job interview, Trish. That's really good.
Look at all this introspect.
I know. Look at all this introspect. And then now, finally, my favorite piece of advice. I'm sorry. Schmooze without booze. That's where I talk about how I once burst into tears. Burst into tears on crying on a futon. But okay, so everybody has a different level and a different level of drinking. Like, I can have like 1 or 2 drinks and burst into tears crying on a futon. And Trisha could have 7 drinks and
would never know that
go remodel a house.
Right.
I mean, she could go scrub into surgery. Right. I mean, this woman, like, you literally, it's so annoying. But everybody has like how chemicals hit them
for sure. It's biological,
But going into a date, you need to like really, I think, evaluate like how alcohol hits you. First of all, you're going to meet a stranger. You are in a situation where you need to be able to protect yourself, not just like protect yourself, but you're in a situation where you're taking care of yourself. So you need to know, like, okay, my limit is 1, my limit is 2, my limit is 7 if you're Trisha. But you also want to just go in and know that you're putting forth your real authentic self, because there's nothing worse than the feeling of waking up the next day and going, well, first of all, I don't think that went well. But second of all, that wasn't even me. That's the worst feeling. And that's how I felt about the crying on the futon story. Is the next day I was like, first of all, I don't even cry. I'm not even a crier. I really am not even that big of a drinker. And forever afterwards, that guy, we did continue to date. That guy was like, oh, well, you're just so emotional. I don't know. I don't even want to get into it because you're just such an emotional person. And I'm honestly not an emotional. I'm very cerebral, but I'm not emotional. And it always annoyed me so much because I was like, I put forth this person that that's not even me.
Yeah.
And now I'm trying to like rewrite this story with him all the time. Like, look how even keeled I am. Like, and you can't like really convince someone when you're even keeled. Like, it's like, how more even keeled can I be? Like, it was so annoying. But that's the most frustrating part for me. And that's why I was always like, you really have to figure out your limit and then just call it, because otherwise you're like backtracking and trying to rewrite a story with someone all the time, or you just completely blow it up and you don't even get the chance.
Yeah.
I'm glad you got the chance.
Well,
to at least
that's really, I don't know.
not so much.
It's fine.
Like you would have been fine looking back. Like,
Well,
it would have been just good if I was kept the ties up.
But don't you feel like just misrepresenting ourselves is just part of growing up and like figuring it out?
Yeah, it is part of growing up and figuring it out. But when you're doing it again and again and again, and you're 38, I think you can decide to make a better decision.
True. I agree with that. Like that's where it's good that education's getting put out there and like all of that. But I think we also learn from our mistakes, and it's important to make those. You know,
Yeah.
as
Well,
much.
I made them.
Yes, but you learn from them.
Yeah, I did.
You know what I mean?
No, yeah. I mean, I don't need to scrub them all away. I'm just saying, like,
Yeah.
you make them and you learn and you do better.
Yeah, for sure.
And don't beat yourself up about when you do.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
Not worth that.
No. It's a waste of time.
Mm-hmm.
Conversation. I
Yeah.
totally hear you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you guys think are big red flags? Do you have any red flags besides the lobster and the feeling about the part of the lobster?
The whole, like what I mentioned prior is one of my top ones. The not being interested in you and your life or your family. Right?
Yeah.
Like if they don't seem to want to know, and this is down the line as things start to evolve, of course, right? If they don't want to know about you more deeply, and then also in turn your family, like more deeply, then I think that that's a red flag.
Yeah.
Because you eventually that will be their family too.
Yeah.
And if they don't seem to care, or it's super one-sided, it's not something I think that could sustain itself in a healthy way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's one of mine, big time.
Yeah, I would say that too. Yeah, talking about themselves, being rude to other people around you, or you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'd also say too, like, just like what you guys are choosing to do. If it's always the same thing, that's probably a red flag.
Yeah.
Like if you have to meet at the bar every
I was
day.
gonna say going to the bar.
Interests, things like that.
Okay, good job.
Yeah.
I would say if you don't get along with my dog, like if my dog doesn't like you, and like if my dog is like actually scared of you, kind of like, then that's a big red flag for me.
Because your dog is friendly.
Yeah.
Yes.
My dog's so sweet.
Yes.
So if my dog doesn't like you, I think that's
Mm-hmm.
a big red flag.
Mm-hmm. I think another red flag is if it's not easy.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't mean like you're not going to have your bumps, but if it is majority hard, or there's way too often all these bumps when you are dating, that is not good long term. My dad always said it should be easy when you're dating.
Yeah.
Like it really should be. That's an easier time. Mind you, that's if you like don't have kids and live a family and all those things. That's hard. But when you're young, if it seems to be difficult and all these hurdles and bumps and fights and toxicity, not probably good long term.
Exactly.
Yeah, because life only gets more complicated, right?
Yeah. I was on a date with a guy once, and we were doing that. Like, I mean, I hate first date conversation. Like, there's nothing more boring in the whole world. And we were doing that. Like, what's your favorite place to travel? Like that kind of stuff. And he said Vegas. Vegas party down, man. It's like so fun. It's like a 24-hour party. And I was like, red flag.
That's a great question though to kind of get to the.
Yeah. I was like, my bed is my favorite place to travel to. Thank you. If you want to meet me there, you can. Don't meet me there.
Maybe that's your next book is just like the appropriate questions to ask on a first date to determine your red flags.
I think asking your favorite TV show can be really telling too.
I don't feel like people should judge me by my favorite
TV show. What would you movie?
God, both.
I do not watch TV.
What would you say, and then I'll decide if it's a
favorite TV show would be Kardashians or Real Housewives or some horrible.
But see, that doesn't make me
reality
judge you because I love those shows.
I know, but a lot of people would judge you. They'd be like, "What is?"
I know people, but you shouldn't answer that. That shouldn't be your answer.
Exactly. Yeah, I feel like that's how a lot of people
feel.
Mine's I am not a big television watcher. Like I don't have like a show that I like was in love with. But
Red flag.
because I don't watch it.
Red.
Jill doesn't have a Netflix queue.
I don't have people's passwords.
And now you can't with Netflix, so you're done.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
I'd be like, we have not. I would be like, me and this person have not.
Yeah, no, I don't. But movies like from childhood and adolescence, those. I mean, I have those.
You'd be like Dirty Dancing and Top Gun.
Top Gun and Dirty Dancing.
No, I mean those are good answers.
Yeah. Things I would ask, like, what's your relationship like with your family?
Yeah, no, I think that's a great question.
You know, I mean, just
Friends.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Meaning-
Do they have like real genuine friends?
Yeah.
That's a good
If
question.
they do not have real genuine friends, run for the hills.
Yes.
What happened with your last girlfriend? Because if they're like, she was a total psychopath, but I mean, I guess everyone can date
They
a
are
total
out
psychopath.
there.
I mean, everyone
Yeah.
can date a total psychopath, but I think it's usually a red flag if they have a string of psychopaths because you know who the psychopath probably is. That.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
If they have not had a friendship longer than 10, 15 years or since childhood, I think that's a red flag.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree. And you don't have to have a slew of them.
Right.
Right.
Oh, just have
Just
one.
one.
Just have one.
Well, it's quality, yes,
Yeah.
not quantity.
Yeah.
For sure.
Okay, that's a good
Friends
one.
and
I
family,
like that.
Yeah.
We'll write those down, guys.
Mhm. Sorry,
How
I
has
digressed over the.
Oh yes.
I digressed
job,
over the
guys.
whole TV thing, but it was.
Wow, I love it.
These are for Trish.
No, you can have Jill likes blue too.
It's okay. It's okay.
No, you're talking.
Oh,
I
about
don't mind
I
too.
don't.
Jilly,
Mhm.
as our therapist,
Mhm.
do you know anything about attachment styles?
Yes, I do.
Okay, I figured you did.
Mm-hmm.
So, after a certain breakup, I got really into attachment styles. I read the book Attached, and then I think I watched some stuff and whatever. And I kind of say in here, like, it sort of made me sort out a lot of things because I was like, it's science. Like,
Yeah.
why we do things, why he did things, like all of these reasons I would have made me take a lot of things less personally in the relationship and in some of my dating situations because it's just an attachment style and it wasn't, they would have acted that way no matter what and in any situation.
Mhm.
And I had a tendency to take things really personally. If you don't know, attachment styles were created by these researchers. I'm not going to go through the whole thing of who their names are, but they're very popular and have been popularized recently. But adult attachment styles are how we relate to other people, mostly in a romantic setting. They used to be used for something else, but now this is how they're talked about. Research says our attachment styles develop based on how we interact with our primary caregivers in our formative years. You don't have to get too clinical or sciencey with attachment theory to recognize your style, see it in others, and use it as a guide in your relationships and dating. So the four major attachment styles are the secure attachment style, the avoidant attachment style, the anxious attachment style, and the fearful avoidant. The secure attachment style is obviously the VIP red carpet winner of all attachment styles. Mm-hmm. Your life. Like, I think I used to have an anxious attachment style. I ended up having an avoidant one for a long time. I hope that I'm moving towards a secure one, but they can change. You can look and be like,
life experience.
Yeah, like, oh, I was so avoidant then I was kind of insecure. Now I'm really secure. Like, you can kind of do this. So the secure attachment style, I kind of say some stuff, but secure partners are confident in themselves alone or coupled up. They don't obsess about relationships or whether or not a partner likes them. Their self-worth is solid and intact regardless of relationship wins or losses. They love easily, and intimacy is used as a way to get closer to their partner rather than a game or manipulation. Breakups or rejection are seen as a part of life rather than assessment of who they are as a person.
Ding, 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 ding,
Yeah,
ding,
that's
ding,
what we
ding.
all need to be working towards. And it takes a lot of work to get there, self-worth and everything.
Yeah.
You can't just kind of decide one day to be secure. You have to do a lot of the quote unquote work.
Mm-hmm.
Avoid
it's ongoing.
Yeah.
I think even once you get there, it's ongoing.
Yeah.
Like, it's not like you eventually get there and you're like, oh yeah, I'm good.
Yeah.
Like, you have to continue to do things and make decisions based off of that secure place.
Yeah.
Right. Otherwise it starts to shift.
Falter.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. The avoidant attachment style, AKA all of my ex-boyfriends. For me, so this says avoidant types need their independence and flat out want to be alone in most cases. They create pockets of closeness with people, but they can disappear at the first quiver of commitment. Their emotions are impervious to manipulation because they don't spend much time stressing about their partnerships. In real life, this is the partner who vanishes right as things get good. You have a romantic date and they pull back to maintain their independence. They may pop up with a "hey there, stranger" text after they've established boundaries, but don't be fooled. They will disappear at the first breach of intimacy.
And is that because their parents avoided them as a child? No. I mean, that's where I just don't understand where these attachment theories, if it's from your upbringing and your primary caregivers.
If you read the book Attached,
7 years of life.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. If you read the book Attached, it does get into all of that. Like if you have an avoidant attachment style, and I can't quote it all, it does get into like, maybe you were treated, maybe this happened and what's wrong.
That just makes me sad if parents aren't paying attention to their babies in their first 7 years. And
it may be that. I can't remember all of the reasons.
It's been a while since I've looked into all this in great depth. But because I don't use this as heavily as I do other parts of my strategy, like other people's work. But obviously it's a part of how we're trained to assess. But from what I know, it can be like a push-pull, meaning like sometimes it seemed like it was good and sometimes it seemed like it wasn't. Yes. And with their caregivers, and they didn't quite know what they were going to get. Yes. And so it was like, I am just going to rely on me and only me. Yeah. And I'm avoidant of all things. And if I am, then I can't be hurt again. Yeah. Because I know what it's like to lean in and then it be
an inconsistent.
Yes.
Yeah. It's not inconsistent.
It's unstable.
Yeah. Yes. It's not stable. Inconsistent home life.
Yeah.
Kind of a thing. The anxious, preoccupied attachment. This partner is overly sensitive and may be suspicious or even paranoid of a loving and faithful relationship. The anxious type may end up in a healthy relationship because of their willingness to stay with a partner regardless of bad behavior. This partner needs constant affirmation about your feelings and their standing in a relationship. They text repeatedly when you're at work to reassure themselves about your connection despite your consistent behavior or signs of affection. I have been this partner a million times, I will tell you that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I need reassurance. I need reassurance.
Yeah.
I need reassurance.
It's like my boyfriend, I'm thinking back to a boyfriend, 15 years ago. He could leave immediately. He could leave and we could have a great date. And I'm immediately thinking, why doesn't he like me? I mean, like I was the worst. I really was. I just had low self-worth. I had low self-esteem. I didn't have confidence. I just was I had an insecure attachment style. It was bad.
Like your heart felt good that day, but your head would tell you otherwise?
Yeah.
Is what you're saying? Okay.
I was saying, like, regardless of his actions or the situation, I still had my attachment style.
Right.
You would go to just negative self-talk, which if you start to think back in your adolescence and things that happened, eating disorder, like obviously there was a lot of negative self-talk.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah. And I had to work through all of that to get to a point where you believe that you're worthy of love. You believe things.
I was never secure.
I'm going to break from the book for a second. And Jill, relationship expert Jill, is going to tell us some of her dating advice.
Yeah. So when I was kind of concocting this list, I was just thinking, what would I tell my 20-year-old self? And
Trisha's making a drink if you hear something.
Yeah, no, you're totally fine. Can you fill me up too? Honey, thank you. Thank you so much. But I just a little background. A lot of this advice kind of comes from my time in college, and as well as like into my probably mid-20s time frame. So that's kind of what I'm speaking to when I'm speaking to this, but I think a lot of it can be used whenever. So I feel like, and this might be, I don't know, I've thought about this enough to where I feel like this is the case, but I don't feel like I spent my time wisely in college when it came to dating.
I didn't spend my time wisely in college in terms of anything. I mean, are you kidding? Like nothing.
Like I was with the same person I remember with my high school boyfriend first semester of my freshman year, and I got with the new guy second semester of my freshman year, and I was with him for 5 years. And my point is, it is a fishbowl of hotties.
Yeah.
Right? Like it is like, and I am going to tell all my kids, right? And anyone that will listen, that Like, do not lock yourself in
Yeah.
that early on. You will never in your whole life be in another
To go
spot.
back. Oh,
You know what I
man.
mean? Where you're like, I can figure this out much faster and more
Yeah.
efficiently. And like, I don't have to. And I knew in my heart of hearts that I didn't want to marry my college sweetheart, but there were a lot of other things that were fun and they were easy and they were
easy
right.
to have a date.
Yeah. And there were so many things like that it was like date party, formal date party, right? That it was just easier. But I look back on that time now and I'm like, what was I thinking?
Yes.
Like,
You're thinking like date the fishbowl.
Yeah.
Fishbowl. Like, just have some fun because you are never going to be in that environment like that again.
Yep.
Don't take it so seriously. I think I had a little bit of that, what we talked about, our generation. I got to find my guy. I got to find my guy. I got to find the person. And
oh, you don't have a boyfriend? Why not?
Right.
Like, society made you feel like something was wrong with you if you did not have a boyfriend.
Oh, yeah.
And that is changing to where girls are going to be in college and they're going to go out with 50 different guys and
it doesn't mean sleep with 50 different guys.
Exactly.
It means
just
like experience.
Just go.
Yeah. And just like, and I think in along
not even
with
kiss. Don't even kiss them.
Yeah.
I
Kind of fun. Just dip your toe in with a kiss here and there. But I feel like what goes along with that too is, not only don't take yourself so seriously, because I think when sometimes we put our pressure on ourselves to find the person, and maybe that's not how kids are now, kids, I say, but right, like young adults are now, is that they don't, and I don't think they do. I think the whole the hookup culture is a thing, which we could get into as well, right? It's almost like too far the other way.
Yeah,
but I'm just speaking in general. I also think sometimes we will say, well, they're not my type, kind of back to your hot starters. And looking back, I should have been open to different.
Yeah,
I just should have been open to different. And not that it means you're going to marry that person, but the experiences and the memories and the lessons that come along with that, I think, are invaluable. And there's times I wish I would have done different and not just done the same.
That is so
what I always did. Thank you. But even I dated a cowboy, and I never would have thought I dated a cowboy. Literally,
I love that advice. I think that is so wise.
Yeah,
like, I was a conformist. Like, I dated the kind of people that my friends were dating to a point. Like, or if they approved, then I did it. Right? When you should be like, literally, like, I need to date a cowboy this week, or not date.
I need a bingo card.
Right, but it should be like that. Go on a date with a cowboy. Go on a date with a scientist. Go on a date with a job. Go on. It is like that would be so smart.
It would be. Well, it kind of goes along with what my other advice is, which is make a list of the things that you want, right? And make a list of the things that you want to experience or that you want in a partner. Because, we've talked about this last time. I believe in manifestation. Yes. And if as you are learning these lessons, as okay, definitely didn't love that, really loved that, write that down.
Yeah.
Write that shit down. And make a
PowerPoint.
Exactly. I was just going to say, you're so wise beyond your years that you were back making a PowerPoint when you were 20 years old.
Or neurotic. I don't know.
Yeah. No, I think you manifested money.
I really did make a list in my journal of what I wanted after my experiences with my college boyfriend.
Yeah.
And I think that was super helpful for me because it made me really be intentional about the people that I would go on the second and third dates with, because if they didn't have a majority of that list, then I didn't want to waste my time because I knew, or their time, because I knew that it wasn't going to be a match for me. I knew.
About one more thing I wanted to say about the attachment styles. Like I said, I dated a lot of avoidant attachment styles. I think I was probably seeking it out because I actually didn't want commitment myself. So I was going for the avoidant guy. But I think it's important to kind of read the book. You don't even have to read my book. Read the book Attached. It's really good. But it is so powerful to read that, because then you end up, and I said this a little bit, but you end up not taking it personally. You're like, this guy can't do it. He's not going to attach to anyone. And I realized why. We had this great date and there was all this hot chemistry, and then all of a sudden he disappears. And then we get so close and then something happens, and then it's one step too far. And it hurts your heart so much because you think there's something wrong with you. And then really there's there's an attachment style there that until he does some serious work, and maybe he never will, to be a secure partner, there's nothing you can do. You can't change someone's you can't change someone's avoidant attachment style. And you also can't change your partner's insecure attachment style. You can't give them self-worth and make them not insecure. And you can't change your person's avoidant attachment style to make them call you back. I mean, the work has to be done on an internal level. Mm-hmm. So that's what I took from that book. That was just like a huge learning lesson and made me see dating really differently.
Mm-hmm. Well, and no matter who they're with, that's how it would show up. They would show up.
That's how they would do it. Yeah, it's not you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Definitely don't try to fix people. That's for sure. But I think one thing that is the worst about dating.
She needs a Sour Patch for that.
Oh,
don't try to fix people, because I think that happens
range.
Way more.
Oh yeah. Like, I can help them. Save yourself some time.
Yes.
Like,
not your job.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what was Maya Angelou's?
When people tell you who they are, believe them the first time.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Maya Angelou and Oprah.
But I think what's so interesting about dating, and especially from a woman's perspective, is when you're the outsider, there's an outsider and an insider, right? Your friend looking in, you being the one dating,
Mm-hmm.
like just how when you're an outsider, you can say that, like, this has nothing to do about you. This is strictly them. It doesn't matter what you would have done differently. Yeah. They are not ready to be in a relationship or whatever. But even though I can give such sound advice, like when you're in the moment 100%. And you're like, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. I think that's what's so frustrating and
the rose-colored glasses thing.
Yeah, and hard to navigate. But it's literally like, think about what you would tell your best friend.
Yep.
And take that advice.
Yep, for sure.
The next chapter is about kind of like toxic patterns. And I talked about this a little bit last week, but I say we find someone doing the dance we already know. And I've heard it said differently of we find a knife to fit our wound, which I think is so interesting. Like, basically, it's just kind of that whole thing of like whatever happened to you in childhood, you're going to kind of go find someone to replay that event with you until you learn the lesson. And I said this last week too, like, I don't like the whole thing of like, well, my parents did this. I mean, maybe something happened in childhood with your parents, but maybe it was in childhood, you were never popular. You had a group of friends that really bullied you, and then you end up in some sort of relationship where the person like overlooks you and treats you really small and really disrespectful. And that's the pattern you're replaying. It's not always about your parents. But you find that knife to fit your wound. And so if you end up in these kind of, toxic relationships with your friends or your parents, your friends or your partners, just kind of go, well, what is this wound that I'm so familiar with that I keep kind of re-injuring?
Yeah. Meaning, like, I think in the end, that is probably something that we do, again, subconsciously. And it's interesting you say, like, to eventually learn a lesson.
Mm-hmm.
And then the flip side to that for me is they call it imago therapy, but it's basically like the healthy side when you get to that, because it's kind of similar, but it's on the healthy flip, is you eventually find someone that heals those wounds versus hurts them. And they call it the mirror image.
Ooh.
Yes.
Love that.
Yeah. That's the healthy partner.
How do you get to that?
Lindsay has a new term to Google.
Yes.
I love it.
Yes.
How do you ensure you're doing that?
I think by doing your own work, by healing those wounds yourself, right? So that isn't something that you seek out to then learn more about, because you've already evolved past them.
Yeah. So you don't seek out the person to like continue to replay the event with you. You find the person that heals it.
Correct.
Oh, I love that.
It's a whole thing. I told imago therapy. It's good. That I know more about than attachment theory stuff.
Yes. Yeah. Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
Thank you, relationship expert Joe.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Way to go, Dr. Joe.
This is
you win the whole bag.
No, I know. This is something that Jill's been talking about this whole time. Remember the universe, the beginning of the book, I talk a lot about the universe and manifestation, but the universe is listening to your actions, not your words. And she will guide you to the destination. She will guide you to your destination if you're taking She can't guide you to your destination if you're taking detours with partners and patterns who don't serve your ultimate intention. If you're looking for a stable, committed partner, prove it. Be the person who attracts suitable suitors. Actively search for qualities you desire in a mate. Be ruthless about what you want and reject people from your orbit who fall short. So that's just kind of like, that's manifestation 101, right?
100%.
You have to act out what you want. Write that list of who you're looking for. Don't go, and this is something I had to learn too. I think I had done some workshops or read some books about it, and they said, like, even if you're like, okay, well, I'm going to date all the right guys, I'm going to do this, but then I'm going to, like, side text the old guy and still talk to the bad guy, and maybe I'll just go have a drink with him or whatever. It's like, you have to cut off. Trisha's like, I know.
Side text the old guy.
I know her game, and I saw her do this for so long.
Oh my God. Sorry.
This is kind of nice sometimes.
No,
Yeah.
but you have
There's
to,
nothing wrong with the side guy.
and it can feel, if you're just texting someone, it can feel like, well, what's
It's innocent.
what is even the thing? You have to cut off all of that energy. You have to cut off all that energy and only let in the good stuff, because the universe is going to see all that and be like, she's still up to her bullshit. Like, you have to prove it. You have to prove that you are into treating yourself better. And even if you're, like, not actively looking for a partner, because I'm not, I was just like, I have to cut off all that stuff, because you know what? Like, I have to prove to myself and to the universe that I'm, like, I deserve better.
Mm-hmm.
And that was part of it for me. That was a big thing for me. It was like, none of these little, like,
right.
just to entertain yourself while you're watching Netflix,
Yeah.
like, no, I'm better than that. I'm going to prove I'm better than that. I'm going to prove it to myself, and I'm going to prove it to the universe.
Yeah.
We actually,
before you cut into that, you can cut this part out. But there is, like, a quote. It's like, something about, like, everyone hates a bad goodbye, which I was queen of, right? Like, I was like, I'm always gonna
you want to wrap it up in a
but it's
bow?
like, would goodbyes happen if they weren't bad?
Right.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I think it's interesting. So,
Yeah.
Mo was like, I need my place in the frame.
yeah.
Oh.
So no, sorry,
No.
cut you.
So we did everything in that chapter except for sex and the breakup. And I think those are, like, their own thing. Right?
Yeah.
So we're going to save sex and the breakup for later times. And that was just dating. Anything else you guys want to do? Or are you guys ready to go eat nachos?
Nachos.
Thanks so much for overthinking with me this week. Until next time, wishing you all good thoughts.